Perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now. That's what I said over 2 years ago. As I buried Five Nights at Freddy's on this channel 6 feet under the floor and never ever visited the grave again. However, today we return for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 final nights. Hello, and welcome to Final Nights. Nowadays it feels like FNAF fan games are like 90% of every game out on the market. However, despite that massive amount of just content, there has been one game, no, one franchise to stand out. And that is the Final Nights quadrilogy. 4 games from one guy about his story in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. Today's video will be split into 2 parts. Firstly, I will be playing through decent chunks of all 4 games, and you can watch me as I explain them to you and struggle against them. And in the second part, I wanna dive a little bit into the internet and try figuring out a bit of history and background behind these games. I'm still talking right now as I'm editing this video, and I'm not sure how much I will find in to talk about in the second half of this video. But it's not gonna matter anyways, because this video serves to ask you, the viewer, one question nonetheless, no matter how it is set up. Do you remember Final Nights? Oh. Alright.
Something isn't right here. Damn, he's here!
What?
He didn't seem to like my flashlight all too much.
Who? Did I miss something already? I didn't see anything. Press ASD. Once looking, you have to wait. Wait. Press A, S, and D to look in a direction. Once looking, you have to wait to face forward. Excuse me! I was still fucking reading! Oh, holy shit! You call that a flashlight? I call that a weapon of mass destruction! There's not even a jump scare noise! He just like, give me a kiss! I don't know what the fuck is. Very scary game. I am shitting bricks right now. This right here is Final Nights 1. And it is complete and utter dog shit. No, calling this dog shit would be an insult to all the hard work dogs have to put in to press that brown piece of junk out of their asshole. This game is below that. It may genuinely be the worst game I've played on this channel so far. I know it's an indie dev, and I appreciate all the hard work that he put in, and later in the video you will see he went big places thanks to this game. So take all of this criticism with a grain of salt, alright? But please, this is so bad. You sit in this room with the fucking puppet trying to get to you. Alright, easy enough. He makes a specified noise for wherever he shows up in the room, and when he makes that noise you just look there, flash him with the light, rinse and repeat until the night is over. Sounds easy enough. There's only one problem. This game is completely buggy and broken. Sometimes the flashlight just straight up does not work, and otherwise you have to flash him when he's not in sight, and otherwise when he is in sight. That was so stupid, bro. This game sucks dildo cock. What the fuck is the attic? How long does this go on for? Okay. That was I flashed him 3 times. This game is ass cheek badonkawonkas. And, you know, this would be fine as a section if there was a lot more after this. But no, this is the end of the game. Like, this is all the game is. I've heard and seen that there is more, but in my downloaded version of this game, and I've downloaded the most recent version, if you finish this level, the game crashes, and if you forcefully start the second level, you simply cannot access the first half of it and are stuck in the, like, entry room. So Final Nights 1 is a bland game in of itself, and it doesn't even work. So needless to say, I was not really excited going into this series. Alright, so this is Karat Lava from the edit here. I have decided to go against the layout of going through every game and then going through the history of every game, because I've realized that was kind of stupid, and no, I will not re-record my voice lines because I'm sick and I wanna sort of protect my voice as much as I can. So yeah, let's just go through the history right now really quickly before I completely lose my voice. So Final Nights is developed by Jelly Liam, and Final Nights 1 was this person's first ever game, and you know, for that I think it's quite good. Or there is not a lot known about the process behind this game. What is known is that Jelly Liam wanted to create a sort of FNAF fan series set in the canon universe at that time. Remember, this game is really old. The FNAF universe was not as established as it is today, so he sort of wanted to create his own story in that universe based on the story that had canonically happened. And that's where this game originated from, with the intention always being to follow it up. He was gonna make a sequel to this game. If it flopped, was none of his concern, and, you know, luckily for him, it didn't.
Oh wow, this place sure burned down fast. What an absolute mess. Huh? I can't hear you. Hang on, I'll come over. What the hell? Hey guys, I found something.
Final Nights 2 is a drastic improvement over the first game, and probably my favorite one in the series. It refines the graphics, actually has the 5-night principle, and how do I put this? It starts the story off. Like, the story really gets going in this game. I'm not even gonna bother to somehow try and explain to you what happens in this story, because I did not understand a single thing. But it does get going, a story is here, and I feel like if you look into it, it could be quite good. Final Nights 2 takes place in this house after the original pizzeria burned down in the first game, and now the charred corpses of the animatronics are after you. You must use the monitors in front of you, the vents to your right, and the doorway behind you to fend them off. The puppet is in the little box beside you, but you just flash her sometimes, and that's all that you really gotta do. You close the vents when something crawls in there, and whenever something appears at the doorway, you either flash it or run up and close the door. Sounds simple enough, and honestly, this gameplay loop is kinda tense and honestly fun. Oh, we got choices up in this bitch? Spring Bonnie. gotcha. Is this gonna affect the game at all? Weird noise? That's Freddy going in, so I shut the vent. Right? Yeah, alright. Then I occasionally check in on this fucker. And whenever Foxy's in there, I gotta check for him. That's Foxy, alright. We actually got gameplay going. Who's that? Is that going to my... I don't know, there's no room? What the hell was that noise if it wasn't? Oh, shit. Ah, alright. What is that noise? Can I go? Think? Can I flash him? Can I go here? Okay, I'm getting it. Puppet, you just flash. Freddy Jizz Bear, you just knock out. And Foxy, you hold the door. Listen, this game loop is actually fine, but the controls are so much dog shit. Yeah, the controls were a little bit stiff, but little did I know just how bad this was going to get. Now then, I've told you what I like about this game. Now let me tell you the few things that I really do not like. And that is two things that really bog this game down. One, the cameras. Later in the game, Chica gets added, and she can also appear in the hallway. With Foxy you gotta close the door, but Chica you have to flash with the flashlight. Now then, you're meant to tell who is in the room based on who walks into the hallway on the camera. Now then, there's two problems with this. Animatronics can still enter this hallway, but they'll just be teleported back, but still play the noise that they have entered the hallway. I know this may sound confusing, but I think you may be able to get what I mean here. I'm not sure, but the real problem is quite visible. Like, these cameras have the same fucking quality as some kids' shitty Minecraft Let's Play. I can't see shit on there.
So viele Diamonds hier wieder gleich gefunden. Weiter geht's im Let's Play. Was? Alle Wege! Alle Wege! What the fuck? Adolf! Adolf Hitler! Adolf! Hitler!
So, yeah, telling who was in the hallway came down to a matter of luck, mostly. And the second and without a doubt biggest flaw that caused me to spend way more time on this game than I should have is a change that randomly gets made, because so basically, with like Freddy and Bonnie who are in the vents, you wait for them to go into the vents and then close the doors. You can't close the doors while they're crawling into the vents, because the vents open again after a certain period of time. That's the usual stuff. Now, the game straight up does not tell you, however, that the time these vents take to reopen is completely random. In the first few nights, I had to close them when Freddy and shit were crawling into the vents, you know? Because they run against them, vent opens a few seconds after. If I close it any later and somebody else enters the vent, I'm fucked. Well, halfway through the game that completely changes. Now you have to close the vents the millisecond they are about to enter your office, because otherwise the vent just reopens again. You are never told that this thing changes. But besides that obvious issue that had me spend way too much time on this game, The game is fine and even has a nice little surprise boss fight for the final night. Very poorly explained, very poorly optimized, far from good. Yeah, now he glitched up like he was supposed to. What is that noise? Is that Balloon Boy in the... Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. I got fucking double raped in the ass cheeks by these guys.
What did you say?
Anyways, for the last part I just looked on YouTube, so depending, like there's, between nights there's these little mini games where you can like either choose to kill or spare children. And if you spare them, you get a good ending. If you kill them, you get a bad ending. It's quite nice, you know. It takes your mind off the nights and the main gameplay for a little bit. Now then, history-wise, yet again, there is not that much. But from what I could tell, what really happened between Final Nights 1 and 2 was that Jelly Liam saw the potential and feedback and really wanted to make Final Nights 2 a proper good game, going as far as to bring on a whole lot more people to develop it with him, even some making a soundtrack, and sending out betas of the game to play testers to help him bring the game out in a stable form. Overall, history-wise, I could say that Final Nights 2 was Jelly Liam's first ever big breakthrough game, after Final Nights 1 had proven to Jelly Liam that he could make these games, and you know, you could tell that he was very passionate about this and really wanted to make a truly scary FNAF fan game series. That showed itself in the next entry. Just like FNAF 4 tried to bring the series back to its truly scary roots, Final Nights 3 attempts to do the same and succeeds at it decently. In this game you are stuck in a hospital with no proper way to defend yourself, as varying animatronics, now called the Reaper animatronics, try and get to you. You gotta utilize your flashlight to flash Balloon Boy who sits in a locker, close the curtains on the puppet when she appears at the window, and respond accordingly with either a flash or the closing of a door, depending on who is where in the hallway. You can also turn up the temperature to chase away a Reaper Mangle. If there is something that I would like to praise about this game, it's the animatronic designs. They are truly unnerving, and I couldn't scream because I was sick, my throat was hurting. But this game got me a couple of times. It's definitely maybe the scariest in the series. I'm not so sure about that. It also has a very unique mechanic where time only passes when you are asleep in your bed. Now then, at first I thought that this was super annoying. However, it works really well and leads to some strategic gameplay that I personally really enjoyed. And that's where the positives for this game end, because this game has two negatives that are so massive they rival my two balls. And firstly, I know that you're in a hospital in this game, and this game tries to be immersive. But did we really need to simulate the injuries on the bloody player character? The controls of this game are designed for someone who actually has his fingers broken. They are so bad that I could only make it to like night 5. Does me not fully beating this game sort of discredit my whole opinion about it? Maybe. But gosh, maybe it was just a skill issue. But these controls were so abysmally bad. Let's go through this from the bed. So to move off the bed, you use the mouse cursor. You also use the mouse cursor to move towards the AC unit and the door. That there is no prompt for the AC unit specifically, you just gotta figure out that it's even there to begin with. Now then, this one gets complicated. If you are in the middle of the room, the mouse cursor is not used to move towards Balloon Boy. You use the W key for that. And to move towards the curtains, the W key is also used. Instead, the mouse cursor now serves to close the door on Balloon Boy. Alright, you're following me? Now then, that's not where it ends. You usually press space to use the flashlight in both the hallway and on Balloon Boy. On the bed, you double press space to fall asleep. Okay, I'm still following slightly. But then, if you are not in the hallway but in the doorway, pressing space does not use the flashlight. It closes the door, and pressing the left mouse button does not close the door to the hallway like it closes the door to Balloon Boy. Also, have I mentioned yet that if you press W in the center of the room, you move towards Balloon Boy's box so you can close him or flash him, or go towards the door so you can flash it or close it. However, if you go towards the window, you don't go towards it to close it, you immediately close it, meaning that if you accidentally walk there not wanting to close it, yet you still close it and then fucking die. The controls to this game are bad. That's all that I want to say. And it's not even the worst thing about this game, because in a trend that started in this game and luckily only lasts for one more game, this game explains everything so fucking poorly. I had to pull up a guide from night 2 on, cause nothing is explained properly. You wanna know how they explain that you have to flash Bonnie when he's in the hallway and close the door when he is standing in front of the door, and how you have to close the curtains when the lightning strikes around the puppet. They explain it, and I quote, "Scare away Puppet Man when he is closest. Close door on friend, then he is closest." You know I am against violence towards children, but maybe we should start making exceptions, because I wanna beat up this fucking baby Freddy so badly. Who is your friend? I didn't even know you had any friends. You didn't tell Mama or Dada about that. What are they? Are they men? Are they hot? I'm asking because I also am attracted to...
Stop it. Get some help.
Second question, what do you mean when he's closest? That doesn't exactly explain anything. Secondly, you didn't even tell me about having to flash him when he is not the closest, whatever the fuck that's even supposed to mean. Also, you didn't even tell me where your friend is meant to be flashed, or how. Like, am I meant to pull my pants down, that type of flash, or am I meant to use my flashlight, that type of flash? You know what I'm saying?
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay?
Alright, with my rant out the way, now you can just enjoy me playing this game and having a little bit of fun with it.
How much he hates your characters. He's terrified of them.
He's not. He's just putting on an act so he can come back home and stay in his room all day.
Oh, don't turn this against him.
I'm not. It's the truth. He plays with those plush toys all day. Do you really think he's scared of them?
You know what, Dave? If you can't stop wasting your time on this nonsense and actually start focusing on providing...
Hey Mom, I
promise
shit
you
the
will
bed,
shut
can
down
you
your
come?
business
These controls make me wonder. I swear to actual fuck. I'm gonna die now. Yep, because I was 1 millisecond too slow.
In the way of our staff.
Well, then tell your staff to move. Now get out of my sight.
Fucking peak animations. History-wise, I did not figure out too much about this game, but there are a few things that I found quite interesting. You can see the massive jump in quality from the second to this one. And it may have been a little bit too big of a step up for the developer, because this game was heavily delayed and took a long time to actually get done. Maybe that is also the reason as to why this game perhaps wasn't play tested as much, because the controls in the previous game were fine, you know, like that's my little personal theory there. What I really found interesting is that this game was originally intended to be the final game in the Final Nights franchise. However, I guess seeing Scott Cawthon making more FNAF games and go in a totally new direction made the developer Jelly Liam change his mind, as he decided to make one more game after this. And boy am I glad, cause I mean, just look at this. It is incredible to see just how far Jelly Liam had come when we arrive at Final Nights 4. We have gone from a FNAF clone that barely worked to one of the most cinematic FNAF fan games I have seen in a bloody while. Final Nights 4, also known as Final Nights Fates Entwined, follows two characters, one in the past and one in the present. These characters each get their own unique gameplay, and we switch up between these two characters every night. One is a simple security guard back in the Fredbear days, where you use the actual camera gameplay that FNAF is known for, and the other half of the game has you playing as a paranormal investigator in a point-and-click style adventure format. Both of these are executed pretty damn well and look absolutely gorgeous. This game also has some of the most tense and frightening moments this series has to offer. For example, Bonnie's mechanic in the Fredbear Pizzeria is that he walks up to you and that you have to stand completely still, the slightest movement and you're dead. Despite all of the good things I can say about this game, it sadly still retains some flaws from its predecessor. The main flaw being that it just doesn't explain things properly in so many instances. Just to give you an example that won't take too long to explain, at the very start of the game you have this section with the puppet at like a small theater play location, and what you are meant to do is, as long as the puppet shows up, you're not meant to touch your mouse at all, you're not meant to do anything. But if the little doll shows up on the left, you're meant to flash it, and if it shows up on the right, you're meant to pull the curtains away from it. Now then, how does the game explain this? The puppets like the attention, but he doesn't like to be seen. Now then, there is a slight problem with that. Firstly, both of these animatronics are called puppet. One is the puppet, the other is puppets. So that already is kind of confusing, but no biggie, no biggie. What really threw me off is the wording, and none of these were big problems. As I said, this offender is by far one of the smallest in the game. However, all of these small throw-offs combined led to countless frustrating deaths. So problem one for me was the puppets like the attention. So once I had figured out who the puppets were, you know, alright, they appear at the curtain, I pull the curtain away so I can see them. Easy enough. If they appear at my left side, however, why should I flash them away? They like the attention. And the second problem I had was he doesn't like to be seen. What I took this as is, you know, the puppet is scared of being seen. The puppet wants to be seen, the puppet does not want to be seen. So whenever it appeared at the right side, I pulled the curtain away so I could see it. Well, I died. But let none of this take away from the fact that this game has incredible amounts of passion poured into it. I had another new problem because now the pizzeria is actually a 3D rendered model, that the animatronics sometimes got stuck on objects, and that sort of bugged the game out, as in certain mechanics to fend the animatronics off didn't work because they never even got in range for me to fend them off, and then they just killed me. However, I feel like that was just bad luck on my end. So yeah, Final Nights 4 is an incredible FNAF fan game, and I find it's insane how much passion was poured into this by its Jelly Liam. However, despite more being planned, this game is the last entry the franchise would ever see. There was a planned remaster of the first game as well as a spin-off, but both of those have gone nowhere. I feel like part of the reasoning is that lately Jelly Liam's big projects haven't been doing so well. He tried to have a really big breakthrough revolutionary project with, well, Project Afton, or I think Afton Project, one of the two. And while that game looks absolutely incredible, the feedback to it wasn't what he probably wished for it to be. It wasn't quite finished, and I feel like developing such a big game only to have it slightly blow up in your face, it probably made him want to just turn the page on FNAF, at least for now. But who knows, maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe Final Nights 5 will soon release. All that matters to me is that now all of us can yet again answer the question: do we remember Final Nights?